parents sold it, so someone else was using it after, and it was brand new. My mom was polishing this car all the time, so it was always really clean, and we would never use it in the winter because we put the salt on the ground in the winter, and that was really bad for the car, so to melt the snow, you know. So we just would never make long trips during winter. It would be only around the town, and then during summer my parents, they were taking us for vacation, me and my brother, for camping, usually in Czechoslovakia. So I don't want to complain about my childhood at all, because I had a really great childhood, but when I compare with my children it was totally different. But really I didn't suffer. You know, a lot of the bad things were really happening during the 50s and 60s, and of course we didn't have as many things, and once we got some things, then we really appreciated a lot because it was a challenge, but then it was just all we knew, and as I mentioned, really, if you don't know it, you just don't miss it. So for us it was a normal life. One more thing I would like to explain, because I don't like to talk about communism, what we were living through, but I like to call it socialism with the Communist Party ruling. And the reason is that we never reached the ideal communism, because the ideal communism is that people go to work but they don't make any money, and then they can just go into the shop and they get whatever they need. And it's not possible because of human being. So there is no country that reached the ideal communism. So what we were living through was that people were making money, but everybody was pretty much equal. So it didn't matter if you're a worker in a factory or a doctor, because people were making about the same amount of money, and everything was owned by the government, so people didn't own many things back then, and that was what we were living through. And then we didn't have just many things in the shops, because it was mainly about the products of Czechoslovakia. But one more thing, many people believe we were not allowed to own really like anything, and the house where I live was built by my parents early 80s, and we have always owned this house. So small properties we were allowed, but what wasn't possible during socialism was that there was really no private business. So all of the companies were owned by the Czech government, and everybody was employed. So that was a big difference from today, when we have a lot of the private companies. And then the turn from socialism to the democratic country with capitalism was really fast. So it has really changed quickly. And I was talking about Czechoslovakia. Now we talk about the Czech Republic. So we lost the Slovaks somewhere. And I know you'll be going through Bratislava through Slovakia. So you can hear a different story about splitting the two countries, because it really depends on the opinion, on the age of the person who will be talking about. My opinion about splitting the country is, it happened in 1993. We became two independent countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. We used to have two governments and one president, and the two governments were just making decisions together. And once the Slovak prime minister started to say, we are going to split, and the Czech prime minister said, then do, and they did. So that's how we became two independent countries. There was no fight at all. We just split it, divided. The border was kind of natural border between the countries, because if you look at the mountains around, so the mountains are the natural borders of our country. And so we just became two independent countries, small countries, definitely, similar languages. And it's true that probably the Slovaks felt to be under the control of the Czech side, because we are bigger, we have more industry, the capital has always been on the Czech side, it was always in Prague, so they probably felt to be under the control of the Czech side. But it's true that historically we were not always together, because we became Czechoslovakia after the First World War, and before that we were part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, so we were part of Austria, and Slovakia was part of Hungary, and that changed in 1918. But then during the Second World War we were occupied by Hitler and Nazis, and Slovakia was with Nazis. They were helping Nazis, so they were on the other side again. And then we became Czechoslovakia in 1945, and then we split into two countries in 1993. So that was the dividing of the two countries, really mild one. We even split the national anthem. I'm going to play some music on the way back to Linz in the afternoon. One of the pieces will be the national anthem, and we even really split that. So it used to have a Czech part, and then the Slovak part went after. So we just gave the Slovaks their Slovak part, so our national anthem is pretty short. I still miss the Slovak part because I grew up in Czechoslovakia and I used to sing the whole thing, and now we are missing the Slovak part. So that was about the splitting of the two countries. So I'm going to prepare the maps now, and I'll walk through the bus and hand out the maps of Cesky Krumlov, and I'll start talking a little bit about the town. And there was already a question about the cuisine. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about the restaurants and the cuisine as well.
Thank you.
Cesky Krumlov. So first of all, to explain the name of our town, Cesky Krumlov. Cesky means Bohemian or Czech. When you say the name of our country in the Czech language, it's Česká republika. So it's a version of Český, and there are many places and things in the Czech Republic that have Český, Česká, České in front. It's changing a little but meaning the same. And Krumlov is from a German word Krummeau, which means the creeked meadows or meanders because of the river winding around the town so much. It really makes a big loop around the old town. So the old town with the main square is in the middle, and then the castle is on the other bank of the river. So we'll be definitely crossing the river together when going to the center of the town. The name of the river in our town is Vltava. You might have also heard the name Moldau, and it's the same river as in Prague. It starts at the border with Austria and Germany and flows north towards Prague, not the other way around as a lot of people think, because on the map it looks like down the hill from Prague to here, but it's really going the other direction. We are actually higher than Prague is. The elevation of Cesky Krumlov is about 500 meters, about 1,600 feet, and Prague is lower, and that's the reason why the river flows north. And the whole town of Cesky Krumlov, including the castle, is part of UNESCO, the World Heritage, since 1992. It's the same year as Prague, and we have more in common with Prague because the castle in our town is the second largest in the Czech Republic after Prague Castle, and in some books they say it's only 1 square meter smaller than Prague Castle, but I'm not sure how they measure that. Maybe they made a mistake and we actually have the biggest castle after all, but I'm pretty sure that Prague would let us to have it, so we have only the second largest in the Czech Republic, but it's my hometown. So I believe we have the biggest one anyway. Who cares about Prague, right? It's only the capital. So you'll see the castle is really big. We are really lucky because Marianne is going to drive us to the top of the hill, walking through the castle gardens first and then through the castle courtyard. So you are going to see all of the 5 courtyards of the castle. I'm going to mention a few possibilities during the free time to visit the castle or the museum that is up there. Sometimes doesn't work time-wise because to get inside the castle you have to get on a guided tour which takes 1 hour. So sometimes the museum is better because it's self-guided, but it's really up to you, and if anybody is interested I can really as well. And then we'll enter the old town and we'll walk through the street of the old town, and I'm going to point out some of the shopping ideas as well as some of the restaurants. And to talk about the cuisine in the Czech Republic in Cesky Krumlov, we have many restaurants in town. There's like 100, so don't be worried. You'll definitely find a place to eat. Even though I might not mention the restaurant, then I'm sure you are going to like it because I can't possibly mention all of the 100 restaurants. But the cuisine really mixes with German and Austrian cuisine because we used to be one country, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, so there are definitely some similarities. So we eat a lot of pork. So you'll find a lot of pork in the restaurants, and one of the typical dish would be roasted pork with dumplings. And we have 2 types of dumplings. We have the bread and potato dumpling. So usually the roasted pork is served with both of them and then the cabbage on the side. So that would be one of the typical ones. Then roasted duck with dumplings and the cabbage as well would be also really nice and typical from the Czech Republic. Then what you can find in Austria, Germany and the Czech Republic is the pork knuckle, which is a big dish, and the pork knuckle is usually served on a wooden chopping board with pickled vegetables, horseradish, mustard and piece of bread, and it's really beautiful. And then what is really typical from the Czech Republic, and you won't find it other places, it's called svíčková, which is kind of a beef stew when we cook or roast the beef with vegetables, celery, parsley and carrots. Then we take the beef out of it, smash the vegetable into the sauce, add some cream to it so it makes creamy sauce, and then it's served with bread dumplings, slices of the beef, the creamy sauce, and then the cranberries and whipped cream on the side. So that would be a really typical dish from the Czech Republic, which you won't find other places. Then many places you'll find goulash too. Don't tell them, but I think our goulash is better than the Hungarian. So when you get there, then you can try the goulash in the Czech Republic and then later on compare it with the Hungarian, because I think our goulash is really good. But if you don't want to have a big whole meal, you can also have only soup. All of the restaurants will have soup because we eat the biggest meal at noon in the Czech Republic. So most of the Czechs will have soup and then the second course. So you'll find potato soups with wild mushrooms in it, for example, which is really nice and tasty. Then there is a soup which is called kulaida, which is white color, creamy consistency with boiled eggs and the wild mushrooms in it as well. Goulash soup, garlic soup and others, so you can choose that. And if you don't feel like having the Czech cuisine, then we have many other restaurants around the town. So there is an Italian restaurant and others, so I'm sure you are going to find something you'll like. What might be nice now, also some of the sweet dishes, because it's the season of the wild blueberries. You can see a lot of the forest around, and we go pick the wild blueberries. So we also make sweet dumplings with the wild blueberries on it, which is really nice. So it can be nice for dessert, or it can be nice as a main dish. So I'm not sure if you are really keen on it, but that's what a lot of the Czechs like too. So to have the sweet main dish for lunch as well. But being in the Czech Republic, what you shouldn't miss is the beer. That's what we are well known for. The Czechs, we are #1 in drinking beer in the whole world. But even the Germans though, I'm not sure if I'm proud of that fact, but it is the fact. And the average is so high that it means 1 large beer a day for everyone. Even the newborn babies would have to have a beer to make up the average. They are only included in the average, of course. They don't drink. The legal age is 18, but we really have the average so high. And you will find most of the Czechs even don't think about beer being the alcohol, to be honest, and you'll find out in the restaurants that beer is really often cheaper than water. And I'm really serious with that, so it's better to have a beer than to have soft drinks or water, because it's just going to cost you less. And the advertisements for beer you'll find around the town, a lot of it will be for Budweiser. But it's not the American Budweiser, it's the real Budweiser that is made in the Czech Republic. It's the original Budweiser. It's made in Cesky Krumlov, the town I mentioned with the horse railway, which is only 20 minutes from Cesky Krumlov, and that's where the real Budweiser is made. We are fighting with the US for many, many years over the name because it was stolen from us. And the Czech Budweiser, the result is that the Czech Budweiser is sold all over the world under the name Budweiser, except the US, where they sell it under the name Czechvar. So if you see the Czechvar, that's the Czech Budweiser. But in our town, when you see the Budweiser, it's only the Czech Budweiser. We don't sell the American one. And then you'll find Pilsner Urquell, which is also known all over the world. And Pilsner Urquell, it's not even beer, it's a medicine. And I'm serious with that. It's really often recommended by the doctors. If you have any kidney or bladder trouble, they say 1 Pilsner Urquell a day is good for you. It was once recommended to my husband, but he didn't bring the prescription home, so there was something wrong with that. And then we have the local beer, which is called Eggenberg. We have a local brewery, the beer factory, Eggenberg. It's a microbrewery nowadays, and you can find the local beer around the town as well. The Eggenberg family, as well as I'll be talking about the different owners of the castle when we walk through the castle area. So different types. You might find even more than that, because some of the restaurants have other brands as well. And I'll tell you how serious I am with that the Czechs don't think about beer being the alcohol, because I studied to be a nurse, And when I went to school, then one of our teachers, who was a doctor, a man came to the surgery and she was giving him all kinds of questions. And it's the rapeseed or the canola, which we add to the fuels to make it more ecological. What is good about the Czech Republic, we have zero tolerance for driving. So me, Marian, we can't have any beer at all because we are the drivers. I have to drive back to Cesky Krumlov in the afternoon. I'm the driver for all of my colleagues. But you're passengers, so you can try as much beer as you like. So you can really enjoy some of the beer in the Czech Republic. Cosmetic, and they make cosmetic pencils, eyeliners, and not only because of Škoda, which is the Czech brand, even though nowadays it's part of the Volkswagen group, but because of others as well. So it's a big business for the whole of Czech Republic. So to the right you can see the modern part of Cesky Krumlov, and now we'll be driving down the hill, and so on the left hand side pretty soon you'll be able to see the castle as well, and we'll be driving around the castle, so you'll see it for a while. So now a few of the technical things. If you are still holding the maps, the number 16 on the map, which stands for the Torture Museum there, that's the main square. The Torture Museum is in the main square, so important for you. And that's going to be the meeting point at 2:30. If you walk with me until the end of our walking tour, then you'll see it, because that's where we are going to finish our tour. But just in case you peel off for some reason from our walking tour, if you have enough of me, if you don't want to listen to me anymore, it's no problem. You can really have your free time longer. But then just make sure you'll meet us in the main square at 2:30, because we have to walk to the bus, and it's going to be parked somewhere else than we are getting off the bus, okay? So I promise to be an easy walk, flat one, and we are not going to climb up to the castle area to meet the bus, so that's why it's so important to meet in the main square. 2:30. I'll be standing around with the lollipop, so you will see me there, and then we are going to walk together to the bus. So number 16 on the map. If you have anything you don't want to carry with you during the walking tour or during your free time, you can leave it on the bus, something heavy, because we'll be using the same bus going back to Linz. So it's no problem, but just make sure, if you look to your left hand side, you'll see the castle already. Just make sure if you have any snack, medicine, anything you'll need during the walking tour or during the free time, you have to bring it with, because we won't see the bus until after 2:30, because I mentioned that it's going to take us about 15 minutes to walk to the bus, okay? So just make sure. And I'm going to check the weather forecast just to let you know about it, and I'll also lock on the same channel. Meeting 2:30, so 2:45. Yeah. 2 Uhr und yes. So just mentioned we crossed the Vltava River now. Maybe some of you know the famous music from Bedřich Smetana, the Czech composer, called My Country, Má vlast, and part of it is called Vltava or Moldau. It's a beautiful piece of music. And as I mentioned, I'm going to play some music on the way back to Linz. So one of the pieces will be Vltava from Bedřich Smetana. So you're going to hear that. And also at the beginning of our journey back to Linz, I'm going to talk a little about like few of the systems in the Czech Republic: school, healthcare, taxes, income, unemployment, and these kind of things I'll talk about when we'll start our way back to Linz before you doze off, before you fall asleep. So just briefly at the beginning, and then I'm really going to play some music for you so you can just enjoy some of the music. So you can see a lot of the traffic today. The tourists are coming into town.
No.
Just like us. We have a big holiday resort about 10 miles from here. It's the biggest dam in the Czech Republic, called Lipno, producing the electricity. And since the weather is not ideal for swimming today and for the activities around the water, then a lot of the people that are staying in this holiday resort, they come over here probably to do some of the sightseeing. So that's why the traffic is quite heavy. And it might be also that there are changing. You know, it's Friday, so some of the people are probably leaving, and then they'll be coming back, or there'll be new tourists coming at the weekend. So that's also possible.